Scrolling on TikTok, as one does, which I do probably a lot more than I should, but I usually come across a lot of book talk related content, of course. And I feel like my For You page has really been curated to my likes and the stuff I guess I interact with. What I see a lot are authors either self-publishing and promoting their books, or just book creators or other creators sharing their love for books and books they think they deserve more hype. So for this video, I thought it could be fun reading a few of these books that I see on my TikTok For You page and that have come across my For You page, some more frequently than others, but also all look very interesting. So let's download a couple of these books and see what I think. The first book we are going to be reading, I saw a few times on my For You page from different book talk creators that were saying that this is one of their new favorite fantasy reads. If you like Sarah J Maas, if you like all these popular book talk, romantasy, fantasy books, you will definitely like this one. And as soon as you say that, I'm intrigued. I'm downloading it. I want to read it. I want to see what the hype is about. Some of my favorite fantasy books were related kind of to this one. If you like those, you like this one. So obviously I downloaded it. I actually started this one, I think it was last month. I softy and neptic because I was in kind of like a reading slump. I just wanted to read it when I was in the mood for it because I've heard great things and I wanted to give it a better chance. So I stopped reading it. I got like 40% in, which is honestly, I feel like a lot because the book is longer. First book we're going to be reading is called When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. Now, I read the summary of this one when I first started it and I did not understand it at all. So this was just one of the books I was going to have to go in completely blind, and as the story goes, I'll probably start understanding more and more, which is kind of hard to do in a fantasy because you're learning so many new things, new terms, new words, new world, politics, and everything. So not really knowing the basis and the basic summary of the story was a little bit difficult, but after getting like, I feel like 35-40% in, like right where I stopped is right where I started understanding like, okay, this is the point of the story. There's a lot of like new terminology that was being told to you, but what I liked about this one right off the bat, like right before the story starts, all of the terms that she's using that are new to the world and new to this book and specific to this book is a glossary all in the front, like all the people names, all of the terms and stuff, just like a basic glossary that explains all of these words that are going to come up so you don't have to kind of guess what's going on in this new fantasy world. I completely forgot honestly what I read or what it was about, so I'm gonna start the book completely over and we're going to read it from the start together. I'll give obviously updates and a summary once I can figure out again what it really was about. I'm really excited about this one because again, I've seen so many videos going around TikTok, coming on my For You page about how good this one is, and you know, I'm in a fantasy mood, so I'm really excited about this. I feel like now that I read 40%, even though I forgot completely what I read, it may be easier going back and starting and reading again to see, and maybe I'll understand it a little bit better since I kind of have some knowledge somewhere in the back of my brain about it. But I remember starting this and being like so completely confused for a good amount of it. So if you start this and you're also confused, just keep going. It all clicks eventually, which I know will happen again this time. And I do remember one thing is I really like the writing style of it. I feel like it was, other than the terms and the stuff that I wasn't understanding about the world yet, I feel like the writing style was easy to read and like understand what was going on, even though I didn't know like what the story was about. I don't really know, that's really contradicting and confusing, but I'm just gonna go start this book again and I'll give some updates when I get further in and we will see how it goes. I don't know if you can hear me because it's windy out here. I just got to 31% of the book and I just got to the part, actually I'll talk about it in a little, but I just had something to say because I just got to one of the parts where I highlighted something for the first time. So I think this is where it like picks up a little bit and I kind of not get attached to the characters more, but I feel like I'm more interested in the characters and stuff that's going on. So this is exciting. Just got 34% in. I think I'm on chapter 30 now. Like I said, when I first read this I got 40% in, so I'm kind of almost to the part where I stopped, but I'm really happy that I restarted it and started reading it from the beginning because I feel like if I didn't and I just went right back into it, I would have been so confused. Like there were some parts that I was reading last night and this morning that I was like just would not have remembered, and it would have been important to the story right now. So I'm happy that I restarted it. Also, like I said in the beginning, there's a glossary of like terms and names that are used throughout this, and I think that is so helpful because I feel like other fantasy books I've read, at least like a couple, have been really intricate with the world building, the storyline, and different names and stuff that I had to like take notes almost. So you don't have to do that in this one. You could just flip back to the beginning of the book or the Kindle and see the glossary and see what that means. So I would recommend reading this, definitely looking through the glossary either before reading it just so you have like the knowledge in your brain, or if you're reading it and you're confused, to flip to the front and just see what everything means, because it makes so much sense when you understand it. I know that's such like common sense to look at the definitions of stuff while you're reading it, but I remember the first time reading it I kind of like skimmed through the glossary because I was like, I don't really need to know this stuff. I feel like it'll all click in my head, but going back and like looking at the definition or like just having it in the back of my head, like knowing it makes everything makes so much more sense. Like the first time reading this, I think I was so confused with what was going on because some of the terms that are new and the creatures and like fantasy characters and stuff and all of these different names and stuff were so new, and it didn't like click in my head because it's made up. So highly recommend using the glossary because I didn't do that. I thought I would be fine without it, but it made the story so far, at least the second time around, restarting it and like using the glossary for what it's supposed to be for, has been so helpful. And I feel like I'm enjoying it a lot more this time because I'm kind of understanding what's going on. So now I can give a little bit of a summary. I don't know exactly. Let me see what the actual summary of this book is. Oh. Okay, so the prologue is really confusing when you first start this book, but again, use the glossary to your advantage. So basically in the prologue, it explains how the world, the fantasy world they're in right now, came to how it is. Like there are these creators and there's different ones for different elements. There's wind, fire, water, you know what I'm talking about. There's a few of them. And then there was this one that was a god of something else. I don't know what happened between all of these creators, but something happened and then it became to the world where they are today. That's a very vague explanation, but there's a lot to it. Like each folk in this world is either a null, which means you don't hear the creator's song. So if you are the wind creator, like you have the goddess of Claude, I think her name is, in your brain, like you hear her singing her songs. And if you don't hear any creator songs, then you are a null, and that means you're lesser than the people who can hear their songs. So our main character, Rave, she poses as a null, which you can see that you're a null because they have their pointy ears and there's almost like a bite mark taken out of it, and you can see like that means you're a null. If you're not a null, you have the colored bead. So say you can hear the god of fire, you have a red bead, or if you hear the goddess of wind, you have a certain color bead. I can show people that you hear the gods and the goddesses and they're singing and stuff. So she poses as a null and she works for this like rebel group, and she is hired by them, and she's like in their duty to try to take down the crown because the crown is like all big bad. There was a bounty hunter that was hired by the crown to take out or just find members of this rebellion group, and she is found, she is captured. So lots of stuff goes on all between that, but that is kind of like the basis of what our main character is doing. She's part of the rebellion group. I think it's hired, or she's a valued Elden Blade of the rebellion group. That's what she is. So that's like her mission. And then you have this other character, which I don't have too much backstory on or too much going on, but you get like one point of view of them so far. And I think they're gonna have more of an important part in the story as we're going on now because they kind of came into it a little bit since I've been reading. I feel like now it's like picking up, like I said before, because I had this part that I highlighted, I remember from last time I just reread it, and it was like a really good part. I was excited about it, and I feel like now is where the story really starts, which is kind of interesting because I'm already like 200-ish pages in. But that's not to say that the beginning is boring. I just feel like you needed all of that to get to this point in the story where now it's going to get really exciting and a lot more is going to happen. You're going to find out a lot more, and you kind of had to get to this point to kind of understand a little bit what's going on. Not that the beginning is confusing or boring again or anything like that. I just think you needed all of that background and, you know, what she's up to, what she's doing, everything that happened with her, and to like learn about the crown and everything to get to this point. I hope that made sense. I feel like that didn't really make too much sense, but really excited to see what the author's gonna do with the story now that we have like the basis of the storyline, or the like beginning of the storyline down. Like we know a good amount for this story to continue. I don't know if that makes any sense. I feel like I'm being so vague right now, but I kind of want to get halfway, which is kind of ambitious because this book again is like 700 pages in the Kindle, so we'll see. I'm on page 253. I'm not even gonna try to do any math right now, but I feel like I have so much more of this book to go and so much has already happened. Like it's very fast paced, like stuff is like always happening. I feel like it's never really like dull or boring. And even though I read the beginning and I didn't remember a lot of it, but like I knew what was coming, what was gonna happen, it still like took me by surprise for some reason, and I'm really excited to see where it goes now. I can't believe I stopped reading this last time. I think I was just like in such a slump and didn't want to read a book like this, but I will be back later tomorrow to update and we'll see what happens and how it goes. I am very excited. think I've hit the part that I stopped at last time because I don't really remember this part. I have a little sneaky suspicion from everything that I've read so far, kind of what's going on. Like I feel like there's something else. There's one part of this that's like very vague. I don't know how to explain it. One of our main characters, the guy main character, he has something from like the past. Anyway, I feel like I've connected some dots is what I'm trying to say. From like reading it a second time, I think I've picked up on things a little bit more. So I'm now 40% in. I want to hit halfway tonight. Maybe that'll happen, but I'm liking where this is going now. Like I feel like we're really about to get into like the thick of the story, obviously because I'm like 40%. We're definitely more in the story, but the beginning was like a lot of build up to this. Even though it was entertaining, it was still just like build up and like not a lot. Well, I guess things were happening, but like now we're like in it. Like this is what the summary of the book was saying, and I was so confused in the beginning because none of it made sense, but like now it's making sense. I don't know really what I'm trying to say here, but yeah, I'm where I stopped last time and I'm excited to see where this is about to go. Just got really interesting, maybe a little weird. I don't really know what's going on right now. I knew there was a romance part in this book, but this part just ate. That's all I have to say. I wish I could tell you what I just read. Nothing crazy actually, but I think it's the fact that I didn't expect it. Like why did this part make me giggle so much? I'm only 41% in. I didn't read too much from last night till today, but things are looking up. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I literally knew it last night. I was in bed and I remember saying on camera to you guys that I had a little sneaky suspicion of like a theory or like something that I knew was gonna happen or like I felt was gonna happen just from like reading it a second time. I actually thought about it the first time reading it. It like kind of was like a theory in my head, but like reading it a second time kind of solidified that I thought this was gonna happen. And literally just like gasped. I was like, I knew it. I literally guessed this so early on, and it like, I love when I guess things right. Sometimes I don't like when I guess things right, because I'm like, I kind of would love to be taken like, you know, off guard a little or caught off guard, but I guess this one and it just kind of came up, so now I'm like really intrigued to see what's gonna happen now. I feel like just before I was reading something and it was like taking this weird turn. I was so confused and I was kind of missing where the story started rather than where we're at right now. But since we've gotten over that, I feel like I'm now more into it. Like so much has gone on from the start of the book to where we are now that it's like, I'm curious to know what's gonna happen. Like where are we going from here? I'm really excited because I feel like the storyline is gonna take a little bit of a turn that I'm really excited for. We've also gotten more point of views, which is really fun. I'm almost 60% of the way through and I feel like it was a little bit slow before this. I just didn't really, not that I didn't understand what was going on, but I felt like it was like a lot was going on. Like a lot of terms were happening and I was a little confused about where this was going, but like now I feel like everything has clicked since I've guessed something and it's all making a lot of sense now. So yeah, I'm curious and I'm excited to keep reading and see where it's gonna go now. I feel like I don't have any theories now, really. I feel like I just want to know like more like the history and like what I'm curious about in my head. I want to know more answers to that, I guess. This is exciting. You know, it's good when you're curious because you want to keep reading. So I'm gonna go keep reading and I will let you guys know when I get further in. This is really exciting. I feel like lots can happen now. There's also dragons in this book, which I know a lot of people loved Fourth Wing for the dragons. It's nothing like that. Like in Fourth Wing, communicating with dragons, I guess. Like I thought the dragons in Fourth Wing were a really big part of the book, but in this book there are dragons and they're pretty important to the storyline, but like in a different way. So if you like dragons and you liked that aspect of Fourth Wing, it's nothing like Fourth Wing, but if you just liked the dragons, there are dragons in here and they kind of help the storyline in a way, and they like, I don't really know what I can say about it, but there are dragons in here if you're looking for a fantasy with dragons. I forgot to say that. I just went on TikTok. I can't stop going on my phone. It's been really bad recently, but I opened up TikTok. Maybe maybe let's actually see. Let's pause this video to see how many times I picked up my phone today. How do I do that again? I picked up my phone 113 times. It's about to be 4 o'clock. I can't stop going on my phone today, but anyway, the point of this is I opened up TikTok and the first TikTok I saw was this. Well, I guess I could just screen record it. Actually, I'll just show you.
I don't know. Crazy shit's been happening and I don't know why. Stop asking me.
That is literally me reading this book, or like when I started this book. It's more clicking now, but like so much is going on. I feel like I'm reading 3 different books at once, and then this TikTok just like completely made sense. It says when someone asks me about the plot of a fantasy series I'm reading, she's saying, I don't know. Like literally don't ask me, I have no idea. And that's me. Like so much has happened, and when I'm like in the scene, I like understand what's going on, but like how we got here, I don't know. I thought that was funny, so I shared it, but I need to finish this book. I either want to finish it, what page am I on? Hold on. I'm on page 418 of 718, but I'm 60% in. Oh. Just because they both end in 18 doesn't mean I'm halfway. Why did I just think that 418 was I really humble myself every time I try to do mental math. It's really sad to watch back and see, and I was really good at math in high school and middle school, elementary school, like all growing up. I was really good at math. Not to flex here. It's not even a flex because I can't do it now. I'm not sure what happened, where the disconnect was. Honestly, I think it was graduating high school and like not doing math after that. Like I just did math all the time because I was in school and had to, and like not like actively doing math and using like a calculator, not having to do it. It's really crazy to watch back and see me try to like calculate simple numbers. Anyway, where was I going with this? Oh, I'm on 418 of 718. So I'm gonna check because sometimes the Kindle has a few extra pages at the end. Hopefully I don't ruin anything for myself, but I feel like I'm about to. I'm like trying. Okay, I actually don't want to do this. I'm not looking. Last time I did that, I read the last page of the book by accident, completely ruined it for myself. That's my own fault. Anyway, hopefully I can get, here's my goal for tonight. I want to get 75% of the way through this book. I'm right now about to hit 60%. So I have to read 15% tonight. And I think that's doable. It honestly goes fast once I can really just sit and read because I don't know what's going on with me. I can't stop just putting it down. Going right to my phone. I even tried to do not disturb today and I turned off do not disturb because I kept checking my phone more to see if I got any notifications because it doesn't show you notifications. So I was like, just in case, let me look. Problem at its finest. Anyway, putting this down, picking this up, and I will update you guys when I get hopefully 75% of the way through tonight. I wish you guys can hold me to that, but I'm gonna have to hold myself to this. Okay, I will be back. Okay, I finished When the Moon Hatched. I think my last goal, I wanted to get, what was it, 75% that night, and I think I fell asleep at like 69%. I remember really trying to hit my goal and I didn't. But then the next day, I ended up finishing the book. I completely binged the last like 30% of the book. It went so quick. And then I updated my Goodreads as I was reading it a little bit, like the page count that I was on, and then I realized it was over 700 pages. Like I knew it was that long, but as I was reading it, it did not feel that long. I don't know if it's because I was reading on my Kindle and like obviously I can't see like how thick a 700-page book is, but it went so quick, which I'm so shook by, like so surprised. Usually when I'm reading a long book, like it feels long, but this one is just like, I was just reading it and it was really entertaining. I will say the beginning of this book, like the first, I don't even know how much percent, it literally feels like a completely different book than where the book ends and where we end up going with it. Like the beginning of the book, you kind of just have to like understand the terms that she's using and like what is going on, like this little backstory of her character and stuff. And then once you hit, I want to say like 40-ish%, which feels like you're really far into the book and it feels like you have to wait to this percent for it to get entertaining and for it to get interesting and for it to make more sense. But the first 40% is entertaining, it's still fun, but I feel like it makes more sense once you hit the 40% mark. And then I think in the middle it got a little, it was like things were happening but it wasn't really adding up, like nothing was connecting, at least to me, with the storyline and the plot. I was like, where is this going? Like literally, where is this, what is this story? But not in a bad way. It was still entertaining, like I said. Once everything started clicking for me and once I like figured out all of my theories and what I thought was gonna happen was kind of correct, I loved it. I really did. I really enjoyed it. I think the romance that was happening in here more towards the end was like really good. Like I liked how it went. Like it wasn't just your like usual enemies to lovers romantasy type of book. I feel like the fantasy part of it and the fantasy elements were really interesting, really entertaining, and really fun, but also not too hard to understand if you use the glossary. Like glossary is your best friend in this book, and I really liked the ending. I give this one 4 stars. I'm really excited about the second one because the way that this ended, I really want to read the next one. The first time I read it, when I stopped and softy and deft it, I was kind of like iffy if I was gonna read it again. I was like, I don't think this is gonna be for me. Like I don't think I like it. I don't really love it. But the second time around, I had a great time reading it. Again, I just didn't even feel like it was 700 pages, over 700 pages. Like it was just a fun time. So I do recommend this one if you are seeing it all over your For You page as well, or you've seen reviews or you've seen people talking about it. I do recommend it. I think it was definitely a fun time. With that being said, we're gonna get on to our next book in this video, which I think unfortunately is the last one. This book was on my For You page, not like When the Moon Hatched. When the Moon Hatched was on my For You page as reviewers and book talkers kind of talking about it a lot and like reviewing it and stuff. This one on my For You page came straight from the author, and I've gotten so many videos from this author on my For You page, and I don't really know why it was happening. I think because of the first one I saw, I liked it because I wanted to save it for this video. Every time I opened up the app after, it kept coming up, like just videos from this author. I kept seeing this book and I kept seeing more videos, but just from this author, like no one else. And I don't know if it's because I interacted with it, and obviously when you interact more with videos on your For You page, they're gonna kind of curate that. Your For You page, like we all know, is very curated to you. So I think that's why I kept getting it. Also because the author was selling it on the TikTok shop, so you can buy it on there. So I think when I interacted with that, I don't really know. Usually when I interact with things and it has like the TikTok shop, like shop feature on it, I usually get that ad for it more and more. So I think that may be why I was getting it a lot. Also because every time I saw it, I liked it. So I interacted with it a lot. And every time I opened up TikTok, still to this day, I get videos from this author. And this one is very interesting. The way that she is like promoting the tropes and stuff, I'm very intrigued to see what it is. And the cover is also really cute. So this is on Kindle Unlimited, just like our last read. It's called The Gale by Lo Meyer. So I watched a few of the videos, obviously, and the author is saying that this is a dystopian fantasy novel, which I think is really interesting. I believe it takes place like years in the future, but in a fantasy world. She said if you love dystopian worlds, magic, government conspiracies, girl gang, prophecies, enemies to lovers, you should read this. Now, I do enjoy all of those things, so I am very excited to be reading this. Basically what she says is it takes place, I think, 300 years in the future, and the world has fallen due to some like nuclear thing that happened, and now there are two kingdoms that are against each other. One is made up of humans, the other one is the Gale, which is the title of this book, and they have developed supernatural type of abilities because of this nuclear thing that happened. She goes on in a few of these videos to say more of the summary of the story, but I think I just want to get into it and just start reading it, and then I can give my kind of summary of what's going on and the plot that's going on. I'm very intrigued with this one because I don't think I've ever read, I mean, I've read dystopian books, but like not like this, like dystopian in the future, but also fantasy world with kingdoms and stuff. I'm very excited about this one. So this is our next read. If you guys are interested, it's on KU. It's also going to be a series, I believe. So I'm going to go download this. I'm going to start this one, and I'll give you guys some updates on how it goes and probably a better summary on what I'm reading once I get more into it. I think the summary down, or at least what I've read so far from the first few chapters. What chapter am I on? 2. From the first chapter and the beginning of the second one. So in the human territory where our main character is from, she's royalty, she's a princess, and her father doesn't have a male heir, so she is going to become the new heir, which in this world, when the heir turns 18, they finally can tell the public their name, and every year prior to being 18, like 1 through 18, like they are anonymous. No one knows that they're the heir, like they do not know that they're royalty. They're just like completely anonymous. Everyone, until they turn 18, they step out, make their appearance for the next year, and then at 19, they become the queen or the king or whatever it is. So the book starts, she turns 18, she's getting ready to tell everyone who she is. She's still anonymous. To celebrate, she sneaks out of the palace. We go to like a club, which is the interesting part of this since it's like so dystopian. It's not like a fantasy world, so what I'm reading right now, like it felt like a modern, like an urban fantasy almost. Like they were at a club, they were drinking and stuff, and then lights went out and she was captured, and now she's in the Gale territory, which is their like rivals, and she's in a cell and they've kidnapped her, but they have no idea that she is royalty and she was meant to, or she is the heir, she's a princess. Like they have no idea. So that's where I'm at right now. I think the writing style is so easy to understand because it's not a fantasy world where you're learning new terms and new creatures and characters and stuff like that. It's reading more like a, again, like dystopian, like it just feels like the future, but you have the politics of a fantasy world. Like you have 2 territories, 2 kingdoms that are at war with each other. So it's definitely an easier read than having just like a regular fantasy book. So the dystopian part is definitely helping the understanding, at least for me at least. Like it's definitely reading pretty quickly and really easily to understand, which is very nice. So that's all I figured out so far. That is like the basis, I feel like, of the story, and now we're gonna learn some stuff. We're gonna meet new people, and I'm assuming stuff is about to go down. he just ate. He ate everyone up. I have a little bit of an update. I'm about 45% of the way through this book, and I feel like I've been reading it for so long when it's in reality been like a day. And I think it's because the chapters are pretty long. They're like between like 20 and 30 minutes, the chapters so far. I don't know if they get shorter or anything, but I think the whole book has like 19 chapters in it, and it's almost a 400-page book. So I think that's why I feel like it's going so slow, because the chapters are long. But nonetheless, I'm really enjoying the storyline. I feel like up until like 20% of the book is very politics heavy, and it still is. I feel like that's kind of like the forefront of what's going on, is like the warring kingdoms and like her figuring out stuff between her kingdom at home and like where she is right now and everything. You're kind of like going through the flow with her and her point of view, which brings me to the point. I feel like being in her point of view, there's a lot of like inner dialogue, which I think I like a lot of like regular dialogue between characters and stuff, but there's a lot of like inner thoughts, inner things going on. I think that also could be why it's going slow, because she's like in her head kind of repeating things a lot. But other than that, I'm really enjoying it. I think it started out with like a bang. Like you got right into it, into her royalty and what happened and some action and like new characters and new setting and stuff, and it's definitely like high stakes in the beginning. And now we're kind of in like a monotone section, but with this part that's a little bit slower, there's like the romance kind of picking up, which I know is like a little bit of a slow burn. Like it took a while to get here, but a few hours ago I was reading this one part and I was like, okay, like literally you ate so hard there. It's also kind of like a morally gray romantic interest. Like I feel like he is definitely on the morally gray side, but like what he does is like, why am I eating it up? Why am I eating that up? So yeah, I'm hoping it gets a little bit, or like it picks up the pace a little bit. I feel like the pacing is a little bit slow, but other than that, I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying like the storyline, like the plot of it. I'm excited to see where it goes, especially in the romance department and all the other things. I think also the side characters are really fun. There's a lot of them, not a lot of them, but like the people that she meets, I really like them. So hoping things go well. I don't really know. I have like no predictions for like where the book's gonna go. I have like, not that there are predictions, but like I feel like I know what's gonna happen, because I feel like this book is kind of giving, if I were to put it in like other books I've read, like the Selection dystopian style. Obviously not the bachelor prince thing that goes on in that book, but like the dystopian part of it and like the politics part of it, and like almost like Shatter Me with like a corrupt kingdom. They don't have a kingdom in Shatter Me, but like a corrupt, you know what I'm trying to say? I don't really know if any of that makes sense, but like the dystopianness of those two fantasies, I feel like this is kind of giving that. Not in the plot lines, but like those kind of dystopian vibes. So yeah, that's what I've picked up, I feel like, on this one. I'll be back once I read a little bit more. So I just hit 65%, and I did meet my goal last night. I actually went over my goal. I think I hit like 52% before I fell asleep. But from what I was reading yesterday and like the beginning, I guess, first half of this book to now, it just feels so like a flip has switched. Like it's still like very politics heavy of like the world and like figuring all this stuff out and stuff, but I just feel like it's so much like telling, not showing, like a lot of inner dialogue or inner stuff and thoughts in her head, and like things will happen and she'll rehash it with her friends or rehash it in her mind. And I'm like, we know that this happened, like let's move on to the next thing, you know what I mean? Like whenever things like that happen, I just get kind of bored, because I'm like, I already know this stuff, like we don't need to rehash it. But we did find out some new information, which is pretty interesting, but also I feel like I could have guessed a little bit, or like I knew would come up. Like it's things that I feel like I knew, but like I was waiting for our main character to find out, if that makes sense. And the slow burn of the romance, I feel like it was like really nice, like enemies to lovers, like slow burn, and then we like jump ship and now it's like we're on like the other side of it. It's still good, I'm still enjoying it. I just wish the pacing was so much faster, and if we take out the scenes of like her going over everything that happened and like we're putting in more dialogue with each other and we're giving more like more suspense, or more like, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but like I want to know what happens, and I'm excited to find out all this stuff. I feel like guessed the ending of this book, but other than that, I am still like curious for other things and to find out how this book ends, where we're gonna go from here, how it's all gonna wrap up at the end of the book. But while reading it, it just feels really slow. That's kind of contradicting, but that's how I'm feeling right now. I'm gonna keep reading. I do want to finish this today because I have 2.5 hours left in the book and it's only 11 right now, so I feel like I could finish it at some point today. I'm gonna keep reading and we'll see. Maybe my opinions and my feelings will change. Who knows? I finally finished The Gale. I say finally because I felt like I was reading it for so long. It's been 3 days. It did not take me that long to finish this. This book is about almost 400 pages, so I feel like that's the usual timing it takes me to read a book this length. I do have some thoughts on this. I'm thinking of my rating, which I think I'm going to think about as I give my thoughts, which may help kind of figure out what rating I want to give it. So overall, was it predictable? Yes. Did some of it feel more rushed in parts that I wish were drawn out, and then other parts where it got a little repetitive that I wish weren't obviously repeated as much? Yes. But was it entertaining, and did I have a fun time reading it and learning about these characters and the dystopian world and the politics? Also yes. Like, there were parts of it that I didn't love and I wish were a little different, but there were also parts of this that I did enjoy and did love, so that's why I'm a little conflicted on my rating. I did like our main character, just like I keep saying. I liked all the side characters, were really fun to get to know. Our main love interest, this is the part where I got a little iffy. Like, I really loved the beginning of it, like the build up to it and like the enemies thing going on between them, but I feel like all of a sudden in the middle of it he's gone for a little bit, the main character, and then it just felt rushed at that point. I wanted that like good slow burn, so I feel like marketing this as enemies to lovers, like 100% definitely enemies to lovers, but I don't think it's too much of a slow burn. I think it's a slow burn to introduce the romance into it. I think the politics are kind of like the first things you're learning about, and like majority of the time, so I don't think the actual romance is a slow burn, but I do think it's like definitely enemies to lovers. I think if you like dystopian fantasy books, or you want to get into dystopian fantasy books, you want to try one out, I definitely think this one is good. It's definitely easy to understand, and it's definitely politics heavy, so if you like the politics of dystopian novels or dystopian fantasy novels, you definitely like this one. The politics of it are definitely interesting. I do think that the ending was a little bit rushed. Like I said, the middle parts of it got a little bit slower and dragged out and repetitive for me. To wrap it up at the end of it, I wanted it to be like more, that part to be more drawn out. That also leads me to saying that the ending was not what I expected. There was a part of it that I guessed like as soon as it was brought up, but I thought that the ending was going to have a different outcome because this is going to be a series, so there's obviously going to be more books in it, and I feel like what I thought was going to happen in this book is going to be in the next books in the series, I'm assuming. So it's not what I thought was gonna happen, but it definitely was entertaining, like I keep saying. I think I'm gonna give it between a 3 or 3.5. I don't know which one I'll land on, but I had a great time reading it. Honestly, shout out to my TikTok For You page for giving me these books, because I would have never found out about this book if it wasn't for my TikTok algorithm giving me these book recommendations. And as I was filming this video, obviously I have been on TikTok plenty of times throughout these past few days, so I've gotten a few more books that have been on my For You page many times that I've screenshotted and saved for another video like this. So if you guys are interested in me doing another video like this, let me know. This was really fun. I feel like TikTok curates your algorithm so personal to what you watch and what you consume. I guess it gets so specific on there, so it's very interesting to see the books that they have put on my For You page, and it's gone pretty well. We got a 4-star, a 3-ish, 3.5 star. I think that was pretty good. I know I only read like 2 books in this video, but it is at the end of the month and I want to get this video up for you guys. So again, if you want to see another video like this, let me know. I have a few that I think could be fun for another video, and I'm very interested to see and read eventually one day to see if I like them. So again, just let me know, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you did. Let me know if you read any of these books, your thoughts on any of them, and I will see you hopefully in the next one. Bye!